Hello and welcome to the Abundantly Favored podcast, where faith meets mindset, gratitude fuels growth, and your words shape your world. We're your hosts, Jenny and Shelley, two sisters, wives, moms, and lifelong encouragers who believe God has richly equipped you to live an abundant life.
Each week, we dive into real conversations about mindset, faith, purpose, and the power of speaking life. Whether you're in the car, on a walk, or curled up with coffee, consider this your weekly dose of encouragement.
Abundantly favored, walking in grace, carried by mercy, held in His place. Abundantly favored, chosen and free, overflowing with love for all to see.
Hello and welcome to the Abundantly Favored podcast.
Hey, guys.
Yes, we're so happy everyone is here joining us again. And last week was Mother's Day. And if you did not listen to that episode, oh my gosh, please go back. We interviewed our sweet mother who is 80 years old, and it was amazing. So make sure you go back to that. Tell them.
Okay, Shelley, we totally forgot to tell them that, or maybe we mentioned it, but our mom's on TikTok. So she turned 80, started a TikTok, and you have
Thanks
to
to my
follow
daughter
her.
Hannah. Yes.
Yes. Shelley's daughter Hannah helped her start that, and super sweet. So you have to follow her. So go to TikTok and search grandma.carol53 and you will find her. And I know you will fall in love with her. So make sure you follow her. But that's not really what we're going to talk about again today.
No, but we were just plugging that because we forgot
Yes.
to do it last week.
I
And we thought,
know.
oh my gosh, we've got to let people know because she is so funny and fun and always has a sweet message too at the end. Very faithful message.
Okay, should we tell them what that message is or no?
Well,
Let
let
them
'em figure it out.
Okay, yeah, go
Okay,
figure out what she
perfect.
says every time.
Yes. Well, today we are going to dive right in. We are going to start with our Bible verse, and it is from 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 7. And it is, I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. And I know a lot of times we see that verse at funerals, but I really want us to think about that today. You know, sometimes we don't think about the end of our life as much because we don't necessarily want to. But if you think about it, that's what we should all be striving for every day, is at the end of our life to be able to say, I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith, no matter what life has thrown at you. And so we have a very special story about a very special friend that we want to share with you today that absolutely 100% could say that. And Jen, you want to start talking about our sweet friend?
Yes, I would love to. So Shelley and I plan these podcasts in advance, and we kind of look at the date and say, you know, what should we share at this date? Well, today, May 13th, would have been my dear friend Frankie's 53rd birthday. I think that's right. Okay, so if you have read our book, chapter 5 is all about Frankie. It's called Choose Joy. So we want to just share a little bit about who Frankie was and how she impacted us, because we've said several times, and you've heard this too, that the words you speak, the people you surround yourself, the books you read, the shows you watch, that is so important. And Frankie was one of those people that we surrounded ourselves with that just made you a better person. And I don't know, it'd be kind of fun, I think, to talk about how I first met Frankie. And actually, Shelley, Frankie was between the two of us. So Shelley went to you and I, Frankie went to you and I the next year, and then I went the next year. And we actually met her at St. Stephen's Catholic Student Center on UNI's campus. And Shelley, do you remember, did you know her that well, like her freshman year before I got there?
Well, I'm trying to remember when I first met her. I actually think it was on a retreat. They had all these awesome retreats for college students, and one was called Antioch. I really think it was at one of those, and I can't remember if she gave a talk or whatever, but once you met her, you were like friends for life, and she didn't forget you. And she just had this bubbly, vivacious personality. She was fun. She could sing like an angel too. I know she was like a cantor at Mass, and It was beautiful, just beautiful. And so I think I had always really, even though she was a year younger than me, I had admired her, and just she had such a deep faith too. But
Mm,
you know how some people with a deep faith are very serious and very devout, which there is nothing wrong with that.
that is
She
correct.
had a deep faith, but she was so fun, and she
Funky.
just exuded joy all the time. And
Yes.
that's what I really remember most about her.
Yes. So I get to campus, and Shelley had been going to St. Stephen's, the Catholic Student Center, and I think it was probably, I don't know, a few weeks, few months, I don't know. She's like, "Hey, why don't you come to church with me?" I'm like, "Okay." So I did, and they had something for the college kids on Wednesday nights, Wednesday night mass. It was at 9 o'clock, which was so fun. There was a neat community there, and I think that's maybe when I first saw her. But I went the spring of my freshman year of college. I went to this Antioch retreat that Shelley talked about as well, and Frankie was on the retreat team, and she gave a talk, and she had this naturally beautiful curly hair, super spunky, super fun. She loved to dance. She just was, like Shelley said, we people were drawn to her. She was like a magnet.
And her
And
laugh was contagious.
oh
I
my
mean, I could
gosh,
just still
yes.
hear her,
I know.
just her. She was this tiny little thing, really. She was
Yes.
pretty petite, but she just had like this belly laugh that just, she'd throw her head back and just,
Yes. Yes. Oh, Frankie. So
yeah.
we became fast friends, and I was so honored because she was a year older than I was, and I so admired her. She was the youngest of six kids, grew up in Algona, and I guess we should say I called her Frankie. Her name is Sarah Frankel, Sara, no H, and Frankel has no E at the end, so Frankl. So she grew up in the Algona, Iowa area, and it was just so fun to get to know her and have her be one of my best friends. So what happened, because we're talking about her in the past tense because she did pass away when she was just 38 years old from ankylosing spondylitis, so kind of a relative of rheumatoid arthritis. But the life she lived in those 38 years was phenomenal. So
Hmm.
I just kind of want to share. I'll share a little bit about her disease and how that progressed. But when she was headed home, I think it was her junior year of college. She was headed back home to Algona, and kind of out in the middle of nowhere, and someone from a gravel road pulled out in front of her, and she hit them head on, going 60 miles an hour. That I mean, the fact that she walked away from that basically unscathed was phenomenal in itself. Like she should have died from that accident. But what it did, long story short, is they believe it triggered this ankylosing spondylitis in her system to activate, if you will. And
Mm-hmm.
for those of you, I could be getting some of these details right. So I know people who love Frankie are going to hear this. You might be like, that's not quite right. That's not the point of all of this. So, so it's very possible that I got some of the details wrong, but she searched forever to determine what this illness was. It's typically found in men. And what it does is it fuses your joints and your spine, and it is hereditary. And she believes her grandfather passed away from it because when he died, he had been in a wheelchair, and they like had to break his legs to get him in the coffin. So they're like his joints likely fused. So
Mm-hmm.
the challenge with this disease for Frankie was she was allergic to all of the medications that are out there that help you live a normal life. And
Mm-hmm.
she just eventually became allergic to the air and was completely homebound. But in that time, she really took on this mantra of choose joy. Her
Mm-hmm.
life, she was pretty much in constant pain, and you would never know it talking to her because she exuded joy. I mean, obviously there were times when you knew she was in so much pain.
She never
So
talked about it though. I mean, she
no.
never, you might be, I know Jenny, you hosted a Easter, some gathering at your house, and she was getting on one of your like bar stools at your island, and she'd just kind of tense up, and you could tell she was in
Wince.
pain, but she'd keep smiling and keep talking about whatever she was
Hmm.
talking about. And I just remember thinking, man, she has a lot that she could complain about, but she just never did.
Right, right. And she very much, so she never married, never had kids, but she was the best advice giver ever. I mean, I think she knew everyone who was close to her. She knew all of our secrets, but we knew she wasn't going to tell a soul.
Mm-hmm.
And she just had a way about it. So I mentioned she's the youngest of six kids, right? So all of her nieces and nephews completely adored her. And she shared
Mm-hmm.
so much about her nieces and nephews that I truly felt like I knew all of them. So when we would meet
Mm-hmm.
them, it's like, oh, hey. And they're like, who are you? I'm like, oh, I just know all about you. But she
That's
did.
not
She
creepy at
very
all.
much.
No.
Yeah. But my kids loved her. She's my daughter Bailey's one of her godmothers. And it was so fun because we found these ways to communicate. So when she was completely homebound, we bought this, it was like called a flip video camera. So this was like way back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And we could record videos and send them to her. And I still remember this video. So Jonah would have been, gosh, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 when he's recording this video, maybe 9. I don't know. Um, but he was just outside. He called her Frank. So he even shortened the Frankie nickname to Frank. So he has this flip video camera in his hand and he's like, hey, Frank, just, wanting you to see outside here. Look at these beautiful clouds. And oh,
Oh.
there's a bird. And, talk to you later, Frank. And just these cute little snippets. And she loved them, which was
Oh.
so sweet for sure. But the neat thing about Frankie is there's so many neat things. So I'm probably going to say that about 10 more times. But she had started a blog and that really helped her. Even though she couldn't leave her home, she had this huge following of people that fell in love with her. So the blog
Mm-hmm.
is actually still out there and we'll tell it to you at the end as well, but I'll tell it to you now. So you can write it down or remember her blog. It's Gitzen Girl, Gitzen girl.blogspot.com. Her family called her Gitz. So,
Mm-hmm.
and the other thing was she always gave people nicknames. And I think with our family, she did give our kids nickname, but I think we were the only ones that really had a nickname for her. And I just love that, the Frankie,
Yes.
which is so fun.
Jenny, the one thing I really remember is, and I think another friend of mine who was close with Frankie said this too, that, they would tell her about all of the things that were going on in their life, like, oh, my kids are doing this, or I can't get them to do this. And then they'd always stop and say, I'm sorry, because she couldn't have kids. She was like isolated in her little condo. But she would always say, no, 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 no. Like, you have to keep telling me these stories because that's how I am a part of your life. And if you stop telling me these stories, then I will feel really different and like something is wrong with me. And so she's like, that was her way of wanting to still be a part of everybody's life. And when my friend told me this, I thought, that is absolutely amazing because she could have been totally bitter and jealous and thought, well, I'll
Mm,
never have those things. But she wasn't. And she wanted them to share that part of their life with them because
mhm.
then she felt included. And then just like you share things with your best friends who also have families, and she didn't have those things, but that didn't stop her from wanting to hear about that and to be
Mhm.
a part of their lives, even though she couldn't, towards the end, especially physically be a part of their lives. She just wanted to hear it all. She wanted to hear the good,
Right.
the bad. And I bet you can attest to that too, Jenny.
Absolutely. She was so full of wisdom and that was right on. And like I said, she knew everything. Like one thing that I thought was really fun. So when I was pregnant with Ava, our youngest, Chris and I decided we were going to find out what it was, but we weren't going to tell anyone. But we told Frankie. And Chris,
Oh,
like, they had the tightest relationship, which was so sweet. So, yeah, so Frankie knew we were having a girl. No one else did. And actually, when I was pregnant with Bailey, our middle one, I had so many ultrasounds with her, just weird pregnancy stuff, which maybe we'll talk about in a
hmm.
future podcast. But I invited Frankie to go with me to the ultrasound, and she was so elated to be there. And it was
Oh,
so fun just to share that experience with her. And
hmm.
Bailey is the one, I think I already mentioned that is Frankie's one of her godmothers. So, but it
Oh.
was just so fun to be able to share things like that. But seriously, all of our husbands, her close inner circle, all of our husbands absolutely loved her and
Hmm.
she absolutely loved them. And
She was
It
like a
was
sister to them.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And actually, so Frankie's dad passed away, about 15 months before she passed away. And we knew at that time that Chris's dad was sick. He had been diagnosed with cancer, and Frankie was homebound. So she was not able to go to his funeral. And they set up a
Mm-hmm.
live stream in their church back in Algona. And our core group of girlfriends, we went to the funeral, but Chris went to Frankie's and sat with
Oh,
her
I
when
didn't know
she,
that.
yeah, yeah. So they
Oh.
had a really special bond too. And, but he
Mm-hmm.
was able to be there with her at her dad's funeral.
Oh, that is
Yeah,
beautiful. I didn't
it
realize
was,
that.
it was so
Oh,
sweet. And then so she was still alive when Chris's dad passed away. And we just, celebrated, if you will, 15 years, the 15-year anniversary of his passing. And then
mm-hmm.
our poor kids, 5 months later, she passed away. So they went through a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and they would have been 5, 9, and 11 when this all
Mm-hmm.
happened. So,
Yeah.
but more about Frankie. So I do kind of want to talk about those final days with her just because she was so faith filled and she had been in so much pain, you guys. But like Shelley mentioned, she very much, she said, if I'm still on this earth, I know God's not done with me. So she really, she was embodying that verse, right? I fought the good
Mm-hmm.
fight, finished the race, which was so cool to see. But then towards the end, it just like, you could tell she was just in misery, right? But still praising God through it all. But when they told her, we think you're dying, she was elated because she
Wow.
was so ready, one, to see her earthly father again, two, to meet her heavenly father, probably the other way around, actually, to meet
Mm-hmm.
Jesus first. But then she knew she would not be in pain.
Oh,
So,
wow.
our core group of girlfriends, we were so thankful that her family let us come and go as we pleased, just so we could spend time with her. And it was such a special time because literally those last few weeks, I was there a lot. And so were so
Mm-hmm.
many of us other friends. Her siblings were all able to come and see her and spend time with her. She actually, one day I stopped, she was complete joy over her face. And she said, I have to tell you something, and I want it to be just the two of us. So she took each one of us one on one and like got right in our face and said, I have to tell you that God let me see a glimpse of heaven. And it is
Mm.
the most beautiful,
Mm.
amazing. Think of your best day on earth, and this doesn't even compare. She's like, I
Wow.
could sing, I could dance, it was amazing. And I just want to let you know that I know I'm going there and I want you to come there with me. And it was
Oh my
just the neatest
goodness.
thing ever that we all were
That
able
is
to experience.
beautiful. Oh my gosh, what a gift to you, Jenny.
Yes.
And that she wanted to share that with you and individually too, with all
Yes.
your inner core friend group.
Yeah, I know. And it
Oh.
was so sweet because they didn't want a ton of people in her condo. Even before her last, she knew that she was in her final weeks. So her condo was a ground floor condo and she had these sliding doors, and people would come and just see her through the doors and just be present with her. And it was super sweet. Like her immune system, her disease it's an autoimmune disease. So if we were sick, we could not be near her. So I was
Right.
always like, am I sick? Is this a frog in my throat? Like what? Because I didn't want to be the one that would get her sick, but it was so sweet.
Right.
So
Oh my
yeah.
goodness. That is, well, I know that she had a funeral in Algona, but then they had, excuse me, kind of like a celebration of life type thing at St. Stephen's in Cedar Falls. And I was able to go to that.
Hmm.
And and Jenny, I think you and another friend sang at that. And I just remember, like, normally when I go to funerals, they're sad and, you might tear up a little bit. I just was sobbing at the thought that all these years she was so
Yes.
faithful, always choose joy in everything that she went through. And I just thought she is free. She is like
Yes.
dancing, singing, and it was just like, I don't know, this release of sadness that this had to happen the way it did, but yet joy in everything that she taught those closest to her. And I just wanted to ask you, Jenny, like, what do you think? We always, you mentioned earlier that the people that you surround yourself with, the books you read, what you watch, what you listen to really shape who you are. What do you think is one of the biggest lessons or takeaways or gifts that you got from Frankie of knowing her and loving her?
Yeah, man, there's a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot. I would say though, because I remember constantly thinking she is living in this constant pain. She can't leave her condo. But just that statement, if I'm still here on this earth, God is not finished with me yet. And we all have a purpose, right?
Right.
And I think that would be a huge one for sure. The other thing, like her mantra became choose joy. And she actually wrote a book, and I have the hardcover that I removed the sleeve from.
Here,
Shelley, you
I've
have,
got it
yeah.
right here.
So let me take this back. So after she passed away, her family really wanted her blog turned into a book. So this woman that she had met in the online community, Mary Carver, who was an author, her family basically asked her to turn her blog into a book. So Mary writes, beautiful writer from her perspective as well. But it is just the most incredible book. But there's so many times too where it's like, choosing joy, like you do have a choice, right?
Yes.
And I just think of her all the time. And, she was so special to my kids. And I do have to share too, like the night she passed away, I mentioned the couple weeks leading up to her passing that I was there a lot, and Chris was so good, and he's like, go, go, go. So this was a Friday night. I had just gotten home from a football game, and talk about the nudges from God. It was like 9:30 at night, and I said to Chris, I'm like, I just think I need to go see Frankie. And of course, he's like, go. So I got to her house, her condo, and her mom and her sister Laura were there. They were laying in her bed with her, and her sister Laura, bless her heart, she hopped out of the bed and said, climb in there. And so we were in bed with Frankie, and we knew it was so close. And so I stayed, I don't know, maybe 20 or 30 minutes, and just was able to tell her how much I loved her, and that, she could go, we would be okay. And when I got up to leave, her sweet mom Jane said, don't go, Jenny, just you can stay. I'm like, no, that's okay, because once again I felt like I needed to go. Well, by the time I got home, I had the phone call that she had passed away. So it was so special to be able to be there, and just tell her goodbye. And
Right.
I don't know if you guys have ever been able, I'm going to say been fortunate enough to watch people in their final days. Hospice had been called in, and there is definitely they're like, this is what's going to happen. Like things that happen as you get closer to death. And it really was quite beautiful to witness. And you mentioned how, the funeral, just sobbing. Obviously we missed her, and we were devastated. Our kids were devastated, but knowing where she was and that she was no longer in pain and that she would be watching out over us was the best, right?
Yes.
We missed her, but selfishly, we didn't want her to stay around. We didn't want to be selfish and have her,
Right. Because you knew she was in so much pain.
right?
Yeah.
I know.
Jenny, so what do you think if Frankie could say one thing to our listeners today, or just share one message, because you've shared so many beautiful things that she said, what do you think she would want them to take away?
The first thing didn't come to mind. My mind was choose joy, but that's her mantra. That's kind of what she's known for. When she was buried, she wanted to be buried in a t-shirt that said, I'm second, which I think that's what she would want you to know. Like, you have to have a relationship with Jesus and put him first. And it was so cool. And just within the last couple months, someone had a one of those like plastic bracelets on, right? That said, "I'm second," and I immediately thought of her because
Right.
it's so true that she just lived it out in her daily life. And like Shelley said, you don't have to be, if you're someone listening to this, you're like, gosh, I don't want to be one of those Bible beaters, which there's nothing wrong with that. Like we said, you don't have to be like, you can, God wants us to live a fun, joy filled life. So,
Right.
we can love
Right.
the Lord and still have a
some fun.
blast, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
He likes that. He delights in that, I
Yes. So
think.
that's what I would say. What would you say? I mean, you knew Frankie too. Like, what do
Oh
you think she
gosh.
would say or
I
want
think
people to
just
take away from her life?
I think kind of going back to the Bible verse, keep fighting the good fight, whatever you are facing, and know that you're not facing it alone, that God has you, and to lean in on that. And, you know, s- there's such a range of what people are going through in life. And it's kind of, I always think about it like our life story is like a chapter book. And
Mm,
some chapters are super exciting and fun. Some are very sad. Some seem to be slow moving. And no matter what chapter you're on, just keep fighting the good fight and know that you were put, like you said, Jenny, on this earth for a purpose,
mm,
and just keep the faith. Keep the faith. Know that God is with you through it all, the good, the funny times, the sad times, the what seems to be the dry, desolate times when he doesn't maybe seem near, he is. And
mm.
I just think she was the epitome. She just lived her life that way, that no matter what was thrown at her, she smiled, she was joyful, she'd joke around. And I just thought, man, I don't know if I would be like that. I want to be more like that. And so
Mhm.
I just remember too sitting at that celebration of life thinking, man, like she did it. She really kept the faith. That Bible verse is purpose for her. Perfect for her. I fought the good
Mhm.
fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith, because she did all three of those things. And it's just
Yes.
motivational and inspirational, I think, for all of us to try to live our lives that same way.
Yes. So,
Yes.
friends, if you have enjoyed this podcast, maybe you knew Frankie or you knew someone who knew Frankie, share this with them. Even if you didn't, share it, right? Like it, follow. We would love for you. We usually plug our book, right, Shelley? But we're going to encourage you to go to Amazon and get Frankie's book, Choose Joy. So if you search Choose Joy, Sarah, no H, Frankel, no E, you'll find it. And then go to her blog as well. Let me pull that up again. So it's gitzengirl.blogspot.com. And the Gitzen part is gitzengirl.blogspot.com.
So happy heavenly birthday, Sarah.
Yes.
We still love you and miss you here on earth, but we know we will see you again someday.
That's right. Have a great week, everyone.
Yes. Have a great week.